Hey guys, what's up? It's Dom here at Dom Talks again, and we're going for part two of basically understanding the three financial statements. Now, we did balance sheets and profit and loss in the previous video, so at the end of the video I've left a link to that one, so go ahead and check it out if you've not already done so. But today we're basically covering profit and loss and cash flow statements and basically the differences between them. Now tune in and let's take a look. Okay. Okay, so if we start off back on a recap, a profit and loss is basically a kind of a video of a company's performance over a period of time. Now that's basically the fundamental purpose of a P&L, is that it kind of records all your income, so it's revenue less kind of expenses, and that gives you your profit at the end. And fundamentally that's what a business looks to report to show its profitability. So a cash flow statement, its whole job or purpose is to basically track a company's cash inflows less the cash outflows, and that gives you the net cash position. Now, a cash flow statement is really important because I suppose, again, we've talked about how cash is king previously, and a cash flow statement is one of the hardest ones that you can actually manipulate, because cash is cash. You can't really change it, or there's no really accounting principles that can change the figures in any way. So it's quite a good, reliable document to take a look at when looking at investing. Now, the statement itself is actually broken down into three areas. So the first one is cash flow from operating activities, and this is just your day-to-day activities of the cash that you get from your sales and all your expenses that are related to just general day-to-day trading. Next is the cash flows from investing activities, and that's basically any cash that you get in or out from any investments that you actually make, whether you might invest in a property or whatever, and that might give you a rental income. So stuff like that is captured in this. And then the third one is cash flows from financing activities. Now this is where all of your loans are paid out, any debt that you've got, and it's kind of this one is where I suppose gets quite a lot of scrutiny, because it shows exactly how much of a cash resource is needed to actually finance these debts, and how heavy that lays on a company. So it's always one that takes quite a close look at. So what is the difference between a cash flow and a P&L account? Now, a cash flow recognizes the outflows as and when you actually spend them, or when the transaction takes place. Whereas in an income statement, you recognize the same transaction as and when you receive that benefit, or when you're expected to receive that benefit. So therefore it's the timing issues, in that cash flow will normally take place whenever you actually pay that transaction, versus a income statement will take place, that transaction will take place whenever you've actually received that benefit. So it's and this is where the manipulation can come into account. So that's why cash flow statements take such a big critical role, because I suppose cash is king and cash is hard to manipulate. So anyway, let's take a look at an example, and you can see for yourself just how much cash is vital to any business, and how forecasting with it is even more important. So let's take a look. So back last year, I also opened up a business called Derm's Action Adventures. Now I'm a bit of adrenaline junkie like that. So as well as super fast cars for £3,000, so not so fast, but as well as fast cars, I also wanted to kind of live life on the edge, and I started up this action adventure firm for people who wanted to do the same. So I had a few transactions over that month in January, and we're going to see what that kind of had an impact from a P&L perspective and a cash flow perspective. So if we take the first transaction, I opened up my shop in Jan 2020, and that property that I found to rent out was basically, I had to pay £3,000 to acquire it, to rent it out, and the landlord made me pay £3,000 rent in advance. Apparently I'm a bit shifty like that. So from a P&L perspective, basically here I'm going to put minus £1,000, because what I'm paying the £3,000, but because that's for 3 months, it's going to be £1,000 for each period as when I've received the benefit. So in the P&L, we see that rent goes in as minus £1,000, but from a cash flow perspective, I actually will record the whole 3,000 because we're actually saying that physically we have paid £3,000 in cash for it. So next one is I need to take my clients with me on these action adventure classes and tours, and therefore I need a mystery van or a minivan to take us on all these adventures. And I found one that's cost me $8,400, and I think it's going to have a life of about 7 years. Fairly reasonable, I think. So from a P&L perspective, we actually recognize this as an asset, and therefore we just account for the depreciation. So to work out the depreciation, I'm going to give you maybe 2 seconds, or pause the video and you tell me how much depreciation you'd calculate. To work it out is you just say we're going to take the 8,400, so minus 8,400, we're going to divide that by the 7 years to get a monthly charge, but because we're actually only doing 1 month's view, we then divide it by 12. So that basically means that we pay £100. We recognise £100 on the P&L. Now from a cash flow perspective, I'm going to hope that you maybe know this one, and because we've actually paid it outright in cash, we actually have a record of minus 8,400 here. Now our next transaction is that we've actually provided some services, and some people are just like-minded, just like us, and want to get on the adrenaline junkie bandwagon. And we found 10 clients who have actually joined us, and they paid us £350 each to come on that experience with us. Now, because we're generous, we actually are not going to send the invoice to the end of January, and we're going to ask them to pay basically within 7 days because we're just nice like that. So from a P&L perspective, the sales that we'd recognise, what would you think we do? Perfect. So we've got 10 clients and £350 each. So we'd have 3,500 in the P&L. Now, from a cash flow perspective, we actually don't see anything because they haven't paid us anything. You know, we've been too generous. So therefore, 0 goes in here. Now, next, we've got some utilities. It's quite expensive operating where we are, and we actually pay £300 a month, but we'll actually be billed every quarter. So from a utilities perspective, the P&L basically, we record the full £300 because that's how much is due. And then from a cash flow perspective, because we haven't actually paid anything and it's billed every quarter, it means that we haven't paid anything yet. So therefore, for once, we can record a 0. So last transaction, and probably one of always the most expensive transactions of any company, is staff wages. Now we have 2 staff who are awesome and provide a really good service, and for that month, their basic wage for that month was £1,200, and now we have to pay them at the beginning of February. So from a P&L perspective, because they provided their service, we record the full 1,200. But from a cash flow perspective, can you think about what we're going to do? Yeah, that's correct. We are actually going to record it as 0 because we haven't paid it them yet, and we will pay them in February. So as you can see, if we take a look from a P&L perspective, we're actually going to make £900 profit. So that's perfect, you know, not too bad for our first ever month, which I'm quite happy about. But from a cash flow perspective, you actually see that we've spent £11,400 too much, and we need to make sure that we have that covered. And this is the reason why I'm saying to you guys, just always make sure that just you realize how important cash is, because cash is really king, and this is why so many businesses fail. Not because of profitability, as you can see, we're making profit here, but because off of cash flow, that's where you get liquidity issues, and that's where you can start to fail in the short term. So hope you enjoyed that, and let's go back. So guys, I hope this just shows you just how important a cash flow can be. A cash flow statement can actually just show us just how well a company is managing on its day-to-day. And when we see a lot of cash from day-to-day activities, operating activities, it's a very good thing, because it just means that basically a company's got cash to either pay it out in dividends or actually to reinvest into capital, and that's what we want to see going forward. Now, the other areas such as your financing activities section will also play a key part, but as a rule of thumb, you always want to basically see that your net operating cash flows, you could pay your debt off within like 3 years, and therefore you'd consider the company quite safe. So not all debt is bad debt, just to reiterate that, and I suppose some control over a debt is needed, and as long as your company is doing that you're researching to invest in, then that's perfectly fine. But the cash flow statement will be a great help in letting you analyze that. Also forgot to say, come on guys, obviously if you haven't already done it now, smash the like button and also the subscribe button, and leave a comment to tell me what you thought about this. Have a good day, guys.